Good morning, everybody. We are at Park Inn by Radisson. It's a little chilly out here, but it's okay. It's fine. The conversation will warm you up. You probably have a cup of tea right next to you. But before I even tell you what our conversation is today, I've got to tell you about My Dawa because they've got a discount code and a bunch of products. And together, those two things, the fact that you're going to save money and the fact that you're going to get great products, I mean, why wouldn't you want to do it? So My Dawa offer a bunch of products, whether it's skincare, hygiene, baby products, health products, and one of the best things about them, one of the things that I think makes them stand out is the fact that you can trust that they're the real deal. The truth is there's so many counterfeit products, whether it's diapers or skincare. I can't tell you the number of people I've met who've had breakouts because they didn't use the right brand or the right product, right? It was all a lie. But you don't have to worry about that with them because they've made sure that they've put things in place that eliminate that. So if you do want to check them out, then you can do that by downloading their app on Google Play, or you can just check out their website, www.mydawa.com, and voila, order and you'll get your products right there and then. Now, today's topic is one that I think many parents struggle with, and that is the idea that they have no control when it comes to their children and their access to internet and just this online space. It can be big, it can be scary, and you might not know where to start. But this conversation will sure help us figure this space out. So let's dive into it. I've got Evelyn Casina here, who has a passion for information technology, IT, the security behind it, the do's and don'ts, and she trains children and helps parents navigate this space, and that's what we're talking about today. Welcome to the show, Evelyn.
Thank you for having me.
It's a pleasure. You know, as a parent myself, I have so many questions about this space, so I know there's so many people who are watching right now and are dying to get the tea, as they say. So tell us a little bit about what you do, actually.
Technically, I train kids on digital literacy. What that means is that we help them become digital citizens.
Okay.
Or what I'll say, digital champions.
Yeah.
Because their world is basically tech.
Right.
And so we've broken that down into 3 segments, which is digital citizenship, creativity, and entrepreneurship.
Okay.
The reason why we do this is because for us, technology found us. For them, they're living in it. And so we need to be able to differentiate the two.
Right.
Yeah.
Interesting. So how different is it not for them for us who, I guess it found us and we eased our way into it, and for them, you know, what's the difference there?
You do realize, like, you would find a child who's not born already has a digital footprint because the mother has been posting pregnant photos online.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. And
so they already come out of the world and they are on the internet.
Right.
As opposed to how we eased into it. So that is just the major big difference. They also kind of feel that they can't do without it because it's a way of life.
Right.
Yeah. You find 6-7-year-old who is very used to the phone, they don't know any other way of living. Yeah. Because for us, we will actually, if your phone died, you will think of other alternatives because you never had it from a very long time. So you'll be like, okay, so my phone is dead, what do I do?
Yeah.
For them, they will actually sometimes freeze.
Yeah.
Because they don't know, okay, fine, I don't have a phone, but I don't know what else to do when I don't have that gadget, when I don't have internet. So that's pretty much,
Yeah. We're 2 minutes in already, and I'm like, you are touching on certain pain points, and I think things that a lot of parents are struggling with. I want us to go back to what you talked about, which is that kids right in this day and age are born with a digital footprint.
Yeah.
What kind of impact does that have? Because, like you said, they don't have a choice. They didn't say, "Hey, mom, dad, can you please post, my baby pictures up until like 8?"
Yeah.
They just post. So what kind of impact does that have on children?
Number one, it has a lot of pressure on their side.
Okay.
Number one, you find, especially, let me just maybe take you to like the US and use maybe the Kardashians as an example.
Okay, good one actually.
Yes.
Yeah.
Their kids grow up already famous.
Yeah.
And probably that's not the life that they intend to have for themselves.
Yeah.
And it brings a certain societal pressure that they need to keep up with so many things.
Yeah.
I mean, just imagine yourself if you're always online and we always post the best photos of ourselves.
Right.
Just that one day where you feel, I need to walk with my sandals. I just need to be me without makeup.
Right.
Everybody else is looking at you different because that's not what we are used to. So for the kids, it's a lot of pressure, number one, because they're thinking, this is a life you're choosing for me as opposed to what I want. You can do you, but let me have a choice of what I want for myself. So I think one, that is just huge for the kids because they don't know how to navigate certain things. They don't have the life skills to be able to cope with what the society deems of them. And then you do realize that at some point they're not able to be themselves. So society is just like forcing them to live in a certain way, which, it can be miserable.
Right, that resonates with me so deeply, and I fully agree that, you know, and as much as, you know, some parents, that's
their way of
their
life,
prerogative and they've decided to post it, but I do wonder, like, what does it mean for the child who never once said, hey, this is the life that I want to live, and therefore continue putting my images on. They didn't ask for that.
They didn't ask for that. So it's too much pressure for them.
Interesting, interesting. So talk to us about the dangers of that lurk within the internet. Now, moving away from that, moving away from parents posting, now having our children be and access the internet. What are some of the dangers that exist online?
Number one, you know, when you've not taught your children about just physical security, they don't know how to mirror what they don't know offline. I keep telling parents, if it's not acceptable offline, it should not be acceptable online.
Okay, we should, like, for example,
we should always mirror what we are offline. So for instance, I mean, you don't go to sleep without locking all your doors, your windows and everything. And for our children, especially when they go to the online space and they don't know how to manage their privacy, they don't know how to manage their security, you find that little things like just posting where they are can be a very, very big deal. As opposed to the way I can post where I am right now, 2 hours later. You wouldn't know, I mean, that's where I am at the current moment. Giving personal information. And you know, kids are very vulnerable, number one. They're very curious. They're very trusting. And so simple things like, I mean, at a certain age when they don't like have their own email accounts, they're probably using their parents' email accounts. Like they're using your tab and you're logged in. And they'll start giving out your data. For instance, you buy a lot on Amazon, then you just put your credit card number there. They're giving it out to someone else because it looks, I mean, they're just trusting and they're very vulnerable. So just the small little things like, you know, you should not share personal information online, you should not trust, you should not meet people you've just met online. So it poses a security threat for them, but they don't know otherwise. So I think, like,
so security is a number one danger that
it is.
You would
it
say.
is. Like
whether it's like your personal information or
where
like
they
predators,
live.
actual like
exactly.
lurking and sort of trying to get into, you know, snake their way into your children's lives. And so, how old would you say that they ought to be for them to be online? This is an interesting one.
I know. That really depends. Because every time someone asks me, for instance, when is the legal age or what the right age to give your children a phone? I'm like, it depends on why they need that phone. Because if it's just for communication, I think a kabambe should suffice, right? But then it also depends from family to family because that, I mean, with the current lifestyle we have, people travel a lot. So sometimes they're using their gadgets and technology as a means of communication. So you can't quite say, you know, there's a right age, there's a wrong age. I think it's a matter of how they harness it and how they use technology. And to their understanding. Because, I mean, you could be using FaceTime, you could be using Skype to communicate. Then after the communication, then what else do they do? You know, whom else are they giving that privilege to be able to communicate with them?
And so what are some of the ways that we can protect our children? Like, for instance, would you advise a parent to just be like, don't give them a phone, don't let them be online, just cancel it? Is that
No, that's never a solution. That's never a solution. Number one, I think parents need to be able to learn the ecosystem of the child. And by that, I mean having the home as the primary source of care for the child. Because the caregivers and parents are the primary source of information and contact to the child. There's the education centers where they learn. Then you realize suddenly their community, which for us was very physical, theirs has gone virtual. So we also need to have that virtual community really, really intact. And then where you can influence government, like, you know, people like Communications Authority on how they block certain things, then there I think for the government is mostly policy. The ecosystem works in such a way that if you protect your house and the children understand these are the values that are important to me, these are the values that are important to us, they will be able to trickle it down to the rest of the people. For instance, I mean, if I ask you, most kids I've interacted with, they say they've taken alcohol at home. But why is that? Yes, they've actually tasted alcohol at home.
You're right.
But we have alcohol at home.
Right.
So they tested it at home. We go for family functions. Do you tell your like nuclear family? my kids are not allowed to have phones. Do the children actually know they're not supposed to ask for phones from their aunties, their uncles, their friends, their teachers? You know, that kind of stuff. So people need to be able to first have that conversation of values and why it is important, so that when the kids go online, they know what is right or wrong. They're able to restrain themselves so that they don't get into the peer pressure. Because sometimes people masquerade and say peer pressure is making our kids be certain way, but I think peer pressure is from internal. It's never from external.
So it's really about building such a strong core and hopefully making sure that they're not swayed because their friends are like this is that's hip right now. But it can be so tricky. It can be easier said than done.
The second thing is also us modeling what we are saying. For instance, we will complain, oh, you're on your phone too much, you're on your phone too much.
Meanwhile,
I'm also on my phone the whole entire time.
Yeah, someone's like, Mom,
exactly.
Mom, Dad,
right?
Dad. And just just give me a minute, and you're just still on your phone.
Yeah. So if we are not modeling what you're saying, it waters down everything. Yeah. So I think just those two things, those are the two things parents just like need to immediately like think about and start changing. And simple things like just creating one day a week for movie night, where we just all of us just watching a movie and we keep all our portable gadgets away. We need to have game night. And those are the things that make people also bond. I mean, because we're really busy and very many families have different dynamics. So just that one day, even if it's an afternoon on Sunday, have game night with your kids, get to interact with them. The dining table, the car, the toilet, which I know, the toilet. Also, like even the bedrooms. I know sometimes people have issues with carrying their phones to the bedroom. I have my pros and cons. But if you also don't want your children to go with their phones to the bedroom, because it can become very dangerous. Because they'll just plug it and you'll find kids at 3 or 4 still chatting. And then when they need to go to school, they're just zombies.
But then also there's a difference between me as a parent having my phone in my bedroom and then you as a child. So how do you still create? Because I can't imagine not having, like, what if someone needed to reach me? And that's what I think. Like, what if someone urgently needed to reach me because something was wrong and it's 2-3 a.m. and and my phone is in. That's the first thing I think. So
that's what I'm saying. I think it's a tricky balance, because sometimes you also do realize we are so much on our phones that even our personal relationships with our partners, our spouses, it's really wanting because of our phones. And sometimes you're just in a group where, I mean, just content just comes. I mean, how many WhatsApp groups do you have anyway? So,
way too many.
I think it's just a balance. It's a balance.
Okay. Well, we've got to take a break, but we'll be right back. And this time around, we'll dive into teens and how different that is to navigate teenagers in the world of, in the space of the internet. Welcome back, everybody. We're at Park Inn by Radisson. I've got Evelyn here, who is an expert when it comes to digital literacy and deals a lot with children, actually. I think it's from the age of 7 to 17, isn't it? So now, let's talk about the teens, because they are too smart for their own good. Half the time you're like, how did you learn that? In fact, you even hear parents saying, like, it was their 5-year-old who showed them how to do this thing
something
on their tablet or
phone.
So it's interesting. So then how different is this space, and how different is it when you're dealing with a teen who is more likely smarter and more literate when it comes to the internet and this digital space?
You know, their exposure has changed from what we had. I mean, they're learning computers from, a very young age. And I think all homes right now, I think even in rural areas, we have at least one smartphone per home. I believe so. And so when we find that children are just, interested in certain things, they learn very quick. For us, sometimes it depends on what we use our phones for. They're the ones who will come and say, there's this new game, you can do this on your phone, and you're like, I never thought about it, because it's probably something that you don't use anyway. So they learn very fast. I mean, they talk with people from different quarters. I mean, in church, in school, at home, and everybody will be like, did you see that? Did you know that? I mean, and so they start experimenting on certain things. And they're in a space where they're not playing outside more like we did. All their friends are virtual. And there's all these social media platforms. And legally, for a child who's 13, I mean, they can argue they need to be on social media, because most of the sites right now, the legal age is 13. So they are on social media platforms, different social media platforms, posting several things. And that they have now friends who are not bound by borders like us. So I mean, they have friends in the UK, in the States, in China, everywhere. They even know time zones.
Right.
So like my certain friend will be online at a certain time and such kind of things, and they share a lot. So that's why they learn and they pick very many things quickly.
Yeah, actually, why don't you share something, because you shared this during the break about the kid and the iPhone and FaceTime.
So last week, the group FaceTime had a bug, a spy bug, that you don't really, if you call someone on FaceTime, they don't really need to pick their call, but you can hear and even see them.
Imagine that. So you haven't pressed yes, like answer, but they're seeing and hearing you.
And so one of the kids who was playing Fortnite wanted to get in on and play Fortnite with his friends. Just realized, I'm calling my friend, he has not picked, but I can see and hear him from wherever he is. And so fortunately, the mom, being a lawyer, he raised the issue with the mom, and the mom was able to put it up. It was even trending last week. And just people started seeing how the vulnerabilities are. That I can be so far away, I have not even picked my phone, and you can hear. And you can see what I'm doing. So that's just a very major breach in privacy.
And interesting that it's a child who picked that up. A child.
A child. I think he was 7 or 8.
Look at that. Like they're just getting, it's not even, it shouldn't even be focusing on teens. It should just be like by a certain age they're just smarter at dealing with phones and technology than you are, which is so terrifying. So what are some of the signs that your child, your teen, and a little bit younger, let's say, might be in trouble when it comes to the internet? How do you know that there's something wrong here?
One of the very, very obvious signs would be when your child starts withdrawing. If you had a very bubbly child, someone who really talks a lot, for instance, if they're being bullied and they don't know who to reach out to, they start withdrawing. You realize if someone is, for instance, telling them, oh, you know, you're fat, you don't look like this, so they start changing. You find that they're wearing oversized clothes, or their self-esteem really goes down, and they stop becoming chatty. They go outside, they really want to be by themselves. When they come home, they just want to be locked up in the room. And they just, those very normal questions, how are you? Fine. And that's it. There's no follow through to that question. And for me, those are the kind of triggers that parents need to know. And that's why I keep telling parents, most of the time, you need to be friends with your children. Put the mommy, daddy role aside, just try and be their friends. Because when you keep asking someone, like if I come, hi S, how are you? The normal response will fine. But if you try and start changing those questions, like, oh, what did you have for lunch today? You actually think about it. Who made you smile today? You'll be like, by the way, who made me smile today? Who did I sit next to over lunch? You know, those kind of questions bring up conversations. And without you knowing, the child is opening way much more because, you know, they'll tell you so many things. So when you start seeing your child withdraw, they're probably being bullied online, or they're just feeling like their self-esteem is low because nobody actually posts photos that are not good. So they go on Snapchat, they go on Instagram, and they're seeing all these people who are made up, they're, you know, just at their best, and they're not looking the same. And you're not affirming your child. You're not showing your child that they are beautiful and unique, and that's how it's supposed to be, the way they are.
So is that one of the things then that parents should do, have more conversations? Because how do you change that? How do you protect them? And whether it's cyberbullying, whether it's like
stalking,
child predators and stalking, what are the options available to a parent to try and protect the children or bring them out of that scary or difficult or dangerous space?
Parents need to get in their children's space. Like stop being where you are, get into their space, because so many of the things that they're going through, we didn't go through them. So many of them. And you do realize
that's a really good point. Right, our struggles are not their struggles.
No, not at all.
In the same with our parents' struggles were not ours.
Exactly. So we just need to get into their space, and that's why I'm saying just simple things like having date night, date your children individually, because every child is different in their own right. You can't just group them. Like date your children individually, do unique things with them individually. It brings out their characters. They will tell you things that they're struggling with, even within the house, outside. Like, I have a girl and a boy who are worlds apart. My boy is such, you know, an introverted person. My daughter is a sanguine. I need to deal with them differently because they're not the same person. And I'm actually an extrovert, and you know, I have my own unique. So I get into their space. I want to know when my son comes and tells me, Mom, there's this new thing on Netflix. And I'm like, have I watched it? No. I need to watch it first, then I approve if you're going to watch it. Those kind of things. Even like being aware about like the content they're consuming, who are their role models and why the person they've picked is their role model, because you kind of need to get into their frame of mind.
Right, so if they say, for instance, it's Justin Bieber or Selena Gomez, you stop and ask, like, what about that?
Yeah, no, just ask them normal conversations. What is it that you like about them?
Yeah.
Without judging and without implying, because we have our own reservations about certain people, because maybe of how they dress, their language. Just ask them, and you'll find sometimes it is they have nice makeup.
Yeah.
So you get to know, oh, my daughter loves makeup.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
And such kind of things. Yeah. So just getting to understand your children uniquely.
Yeah. I heard something recently that that's in line with what you're saying, which is this father was saying how every year, I think he has 3 kids or something. So every year he asks one of his children to plan like a 3-day trip, and the child is the one who picks everything. If they say they want to go to, well, they were in the States, but let me give an example here. If they said that they want to go to, I don't know, Malindi, and during that time they want to have chips for breakfast, and they're going to have, I don't know, chicken for lunch, and for dinner they're having ice cream. But those 3 days they plan everything. You want to go scuba diving, you want to go, I don't know, you plan it, and that gives that. Like it's
a sense
solely
of
about
responsibility,
me and you in that moment, and it's our time
Yeah.
to create memories, because that's what he was trying to say, that we don't focus on creating memories. We just
And we actually don't give our children. This is it. And think about it. We don't give our children choice. You know, we're going on holiday. I choose.
Yeah.
You know, we're going to do this. I choose because I need to like work within my budget. And I
Yeah.
think we just need to kind of change our mindset.
Yeah.
Because what would happen if you went to Disney World for holiday?
Right.
Would you really enjoy it?
Right.
Is the holiday about you or the kids? I think we need to
Yeah.
differentiate that so that they also have a holiday that they enjoy and it's memorable for them. And you can plan your own.
Right.
I think so.
Yeah. And essentially what you're doing is creating memories, and then really trying to instill that sense of that connection between you and them, so that if anything scary happens on the internet,
and communication,
they'll
because
come to you.
Because one of the things that makes me really sad is when I'm talking to kids and they don't trust they can tell their parents when something is happening. Like the first point of contact would never be the parent. For me, that's sad, because I think I keep telling them that your parents have your best interest at heart. If you're probably being bullied, by the way, you're being bullied by someone you know. It's probably just that they're a pseudo at that particular point, but you're being bullied by someone you know. And if you told your parents, maybe they will overreact, and I think we have that tendency because we need to be protective of our children. But it is very important for us to make sure that our children come to us when we have problems. Because even I don't think I went to my mom the first time I had a problem. I don't think so. Come to think of it.
I don't know if I did either. Even though some of those things I knew it's not really my fault, I'd still be a little bit scared.
You would look for an alternative.
But it's such a delicate balance between like, sure, tell me anything, honey, and the minute they start talking, you're like, what?
I know.
You did in my house? And so like, how do you balance between, sure, come talk to me, don't show that whatever you're saying is scaring me, and then I'm about to annihilate someone. So it's a
and I think our teenagers really, really need that, because they're being exposed to adulthood a bit early.
A lot earlier.
I mean, I don't know when was the first time I talked about sex. I can't remember. But for them, even through cartoons, through TV, they're really talking about it. And we parents don't want to have uncomfortable conversations. So if we don't want to bring in those conversations at home with our children, they go to third parties. Then you don't have control over what that third party will tell your child. You really don't have. Because what they tell them is what will be the first, and what is going to be imprinted in their minds. And so I think we really need to change
that culture.
We need to change that culture. We need to stop being scared of having uncomfortable conversations.
Because it brings a sense of shame. And there's nothing, like at the very least, your home should be the space where your child should feel most vulnerable to be themselves.
Because there's a girl who told me, I started Googling periods. I started Googling signs of periods because she was exhibiting at 9, and she didn't have the confidence even to tell the teacher, the mother. At 9, exactly.
At 9?
Yes, at 9 years old. And that is scary for a 9-year-old, and they don't know how to be in that space. So they know everybody keeps saying Google is your friend, Google is your friend, Google is your friend. So Google became her friend. So she was very conflicted over some things that she saw, because that is kind of adult content. Then she's like, so I can get pregnant now. And then it became very stressful for her. So we had to you know, just talk to her, retract,
Yeah.
and just make sure that just be a child.
Yeah, I mean, 9
You need
years
to be
old,
yeah.
9. I think
I
at
mean,
9, my biggest concern was like, can we play kati? Do we have
Shake.
enough tire
I
to
know.
play like bladder?
Yeah.
You know, that
Yeah.
was like, wow, but where do we get the
Yeah.
tube from?
Yeah.
Right?
So
Like, wow,
they're
it's so
becoming,
interesting.
they're
Their problems
becoming,
are really
yeah,
not
they're becoming,
what
they're
we
being
have.
exposed to certain things at a very, 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 very young age.
Yeah.
Yeah. They're watching, I mean, some of them are watching Orange is the New Black. Then they're like, oh, so there's lesbianism and there's all this kind of stuff. And they've not had those conversations at home, LGBT. There's AAQ, because there is being curious and, you know, just kind of checking if this is my cup of tea or not. And they want to experiment that. And they will. And it's very scary for them at that particular time. And all these things, they're getting from media.
Right,
So-
as opposed to your parents just having open conversations about it.
Yeah.
Whoa.
So it becomes very scary when the parent is not getting into their world to understand how things are being fast-tracked for them right now.
Right.
And that can be a bit scary, but it shouldn't be scary because there are very many tools that you can use to be able to help you also just curate content, you know? Because if it's Netflix, just like age restrictions. I mean, I use a tool called Common Sense Media to just start analyzing what content my kids are watching from music, from movies, books, whatever.
So that's interesting. So
Yeah.
even as a parent, you can't say you don't know.
You-
That's not
no,
an excuse.
no,
You have
never,
to figure out
never,
what
never,
to
never,
do,
yeah.
how to like protect your children.
Yeah.
But so I think the main thing that I've gotten from this conversation with you, Evelyn, is that it really boils down to creating a strong value system in your home because everything then spills over into that. Wow, this has been so lovely and eye-opening as well. And I hope it's been for you too, watching at home. Evelyn, thank you so much.
Thank you for having me.
Thank you. It's been such a pleasure. We have to take a break, but when we come back, we'll give you alternatives, things that you can do with your children that don't revolve around a phone or a screen. We'll be back in a moment. All right, so for this last segment, we are getting our hands dirty in a good way. We've been talking a lot about screen time and how that affects children and how parents can be more involved in directing and shaping this space for their children. But now we're about to show you things that you can do outside of that. And I've got an expert with me here. Her name is Wavinya Maliti. She is an art teacher, a designer, and just an all-around creative.
Yes.
Welcome to the show.
Thank you.
So, tell me, as a teacher, as an art teacher, I'm sure you're confronted and you see firsthand what it's like for kids who maybe don't have options outside of just screen time. Can you tell me a little bit about that?
I come across a lot of cases where we have kids who come to school who are tired. And when you get to start having a conversation with them, they tell you, oh, it's because I was playing, say, Fortnite the entire night. Or
This Fortnite thing, this is like, you're like, even Evelyn earlier was like,
it's
what is
become a
Fortnite?
trend. It's become a trending game. And one of the very, I think, fearful things about it is that kids of any age, I've heard from as young as 4, have been playing Fortnite.
And that's what even Evelyn was saying earlier. You can't just be a parent being like, I don't know what these things are. You
Yeah,
have
or you know, it's okay, they're just playing a game and then they'll be done with it. I think there needs to be more active parenting. Because some of these children, a lot of times are like, my mom and my dad don't really understand what I do, so I play it anyway.
So they spend the night.
So they spend the night awake playing, and obviously because they need to come to school, it means they need to be up early. And by the time they come, they're exhausted. So we are dealing with children whose head capacity and brains are just filled with the games they've been playing, and they can't retain any of the information that they're getting in school. So we have to think actively about what are our kids actually doing. What is the screen time doing to them? And how can we then more positively get them away from that and get them into things that will build them, that will make them healthier, because we also have an issue with health because we have kids sitting around all the time.
And why do you think that's changed so much, like that screen time is such a big thing now?
I think one, we generally don't have space. There is so much development. A lot of us live in apartments. Or live in spaces where there is just no space to play. We also haven't thought about alternatives. So if I am in an apartment block, have I thought about, could I on a weekend go to the Arboretum for an hour or two? Or could I take a drive to Karura, you know, and go and have cycle or walk? And with some of these places, you can even take your pets with you. So you can go with your dogs, you know, have a picnic. And be active. But these are things that are now almost foreign.
Right.
Yeah.
Like what is
it's like
a walk?
a novelty.
What is that?
What is that? I mean,
meanwhile, like our childhood, we spent it
outside.
outdoors.
Like you were rarely.
You couldn't be
inside.
caught dead in your. In fact, if you're in the house, it's because you're in punishment.
Or you're sick.
Yes,
and
you
you're
did something.
exactly.
Sick, you know? Exactly. But you were outside and you were like playing. You were even earlier. You were talking about kati and how
we used to make balls using our socks. In fact, that was the argument. It's like I buy you socks so that you can make. You know, play
and it would be like, who has old socks?
You know,
who has old socks? And someone's like, me, I can't choose anymore.
Yeah, because I've already exhausted my supply. Yeah, we are not engaging our children in that way and getting them to be more creative. How many of us made toys? We made our own toys. Yeah. We rarely had balls. Yeah, we rarely went to stores to buy toys.
Right.
You used old boxes.
Right.
You used the old milk cartons.
Yeah.
You used old cereal boxes.
Right. But now your child sits in front of the TV and they watch a show, or I guess playing a game.
Playing a game. Yeah.
Wow. Okay. So let's dive into the crafts world, the things that you can do that take your child away from screen time.
So let me briefly say, not all children are crafty children.
Okay.
And that's fine.
Yeah.
But this is a good way to introduce them to doing other things other than screen time. Yeah. One, I don't think I know any child who does not like color.
Right. That's true.
Color.
Paint.
Paint. Crayons, markers. These are things that you invariably have in your house. Yeah. If you have a child, you've bought these once or twice or thrice. Yeah. Right? And simple things like, I mean, you can buy this. This is a foam paper.
Okay.
Oh. Yeah. It's actually foam, so it's nice and soft. And this is especially good if you have younger children.
Okay. Yeah. Why is that?
Because this is good to create, you can create what are called sensory boards. So as your kids are growing and you want to engage them actively, but still have them have fun, you can get stuff that will allow them to then engage with different materials, you know, different textures, different colors.
This is interesting. And is this easily available?
This is easily available. In fact, it comes in a pack for about as cheap as 200 bob. Yeah. So you can buy those.
Things have changed. Hey.
Yes. And there are now more supplies.
Yeah.
These are watercolor paints. Yeah. So you could, I mean, for those who are more artistically inclined, if you do need more than just these, you could get more. But these are easy and they come in such fun colors. I mean,
like this one even has glitter.
It even has glitter, yes. Yeah. So it has, there's amazing variety that is now available to us. Okay. Now this is acrylic paint. This is more for those who would like to go deeper into the painting world. Okay. But that shouldn't define how you start. Yeah. So a simple craft that I would like us to engage in. So on this page, what I've done is I have just literally drawn a spiral.
A what? Sorry?
A spiral.
A spiral. Okay. Yeah.
So just with your pencil, just draw a spiral.
Right.
And the little dots are just so that, for example, children between the ages of 2 and 3 will need something to guide them, just to follow.
So you did the dots.
So I did the dots. Yeah.
Right. So again, you don't even have to, if you don't have a coloring, you know, the drawing or a coloring book or something like that.
If you don't have a coloring book, you know, color within the lines of the dots, you can easily create that.
Right. This is so smart. So just dots.
Just
and
dots.
Then have the child follow it, and I guess
follow it. Yes. You could also make it even more interesting. So now with this little foam bits, you can actually cut them out.
Okay.
So probably you could help me cut them out.
Yes.
Yeah.
Happy.
You can literally
what do I cut?
You can really just cut out
the line?
That whole strip.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Is it easy? So this is where, of course, the
parent... It's very easy.
Oh, first of all, it's so easy to
cut. It's very easy to cut. And you can actually get child-friendly scissors. If your kids are above the age of 3, there are now scissors that are available which have a rounded edge. So they don't hurt themselves as they cut. And that also helps with their dexterity and helps with their fine motor skills. And you see, these are skills that they are learning outside of just sitting and watching cartoons. Yeah, they are actually building their muscles, and these are things and skills that they will need later on. Yeah. Think about writing. You do need to
know how
to hold and you know and be able to exercise those muscles. So these are things that do that without you having to actively think about it.
Right. So like for instance,
so
with
you
this,
could cut these
further,
like literally into the little triangles. Yeah.
Okay.
Just cut
so I
straight
go
through.
for it, and even this
go
one,
for it, yeah.
right? And this is also fun for the parents. I love crafts.
And this allows you to then have a conversation with your child, because as you're doing this, you guys are talking.
Right.
You're talking, you're getting to know how their days have been.
And you're asking like, interesting questions, not as simple as like, so how is school today? Or how are you? But more like, so what did you do for someone today? Yeah. What kind of thing did you do for someone? And then they're telling you, actually, I didn't want to do it for so-and-so because they took my...
Yeah, and I wanted to do it for myself.
Yeah.
And in that, you are building a relationship.
Yeah.
Yeah. So this you can have now. It has glue at the back. So
what?
You can actually, yes. So this is has adhesive at the end. So you can just really...
Wait, and you said this is easy to find? Yeah. What?
Literally take it out. And then you can have your child...
Can you stick this on a wall?
You can, yes. So you can make wall art with your child, in fact, for their room, using this.
This is genius. I'm already like, forget that. I want to do like my own home DIY decor. But imagine even like, if you had a section in their room and you're like,
literally, let's create something and it becomes theirs.
Yeah.
They get to own their space.
Right, exactly. Okay.
So this, you can have them now follow the pattern.
Okay.
Yeah?
Yeah.
And stick it to the pattern. Now, I will show you something different that I started that we can continue.
Aha. Again, so you said, where did you get this?
This is available at Textbook Center.
Textbook Center, okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
There's also an art and craft store called Science Scope, which is in town, in Kimathi Street.
Yeah.
So you literally have...
So follow the pattern.
Follow the pattern.
I'm here with you. And even just having them, like, because you also find that children like, this is what I found, children like to take things apart and like discover things.
And
like,
build.
What is between this layer? What kind of, they want to really get there. So I feel like this would be so interesting.
And it also lets them start to ask you interesting questions. So, Mom, what is foam?
Yeah.
What is I mean, you may not have the answer, which is fine.
Right.
But it's discovery for both of you. Right?
Oh, we'll figure out this.
And
actually, after this, we'll go and like research on it.
We'll go and research on it and find out.
And then you continue and so and so. So what age group would you say this activity is good for? And look at that. Already it just looks so cool. And it's just sticking like these little, and I guess you'd have to have them pick up after themselves, which we shall. But what's the age group for this?
Age group is, you can do this from as young as 2 to as old as 4. You can just make it as complex or as simple as you'd like it to be. Use different colors, cut them up into different things. If you have, there are craft scissors that, can cut into different shapes and into different forms. Yeah. And that even makes it more exciting. However, even as an adult, this could be fun.
I had a good time doing this, but I'm 100% going to go and look for this and start doing, especially since, this is the kind of simple thing that will probably wow your kid.
Yes.
And you, for like however long it takes you, you're out of the screen time business and into that bonding moment.
And the beautiful thing is with crafts like these, you can break it up into little bits of, for the younger ones, 15 minutes, 15 to 20 minutes. Yeah. Have a break, have them go outside, play, and then come back in, do something different. Yeah. For older kids, you can have them do stuff that is more complex. So
so
there's something that I have done.
Yeah. And by older, what's the age group now?
Older now, we're going to ages 7 to about 12.
Okay.
Yeah. So this is a little bit more complex.
I find that age group is also like, they're acting like the 13-year-olds.
Yes.
So now it's like you need to really get your
engage
stuff
them
together.
And you need to really give them something that is going to challenge them as well. So but you also don't want to give them something too difficult to do, because if it's too difficult, they're like, oh my gosh, it's boring. I don't want to do it.
Right. I'm too cool for this.
Yes. So I'm just not about that. But if you give them something, and I've done this before, with that specific age group, actually with even older, and it's very cathartic. Like they find that it becomes very exciting. They have to explore different color. Yeah. They have to explore different shapes. Right. And it starts with something very simple, because how this begins, now we shall do a little bit of the beginning of that.
So is this your art book, by the way?
It is.
Oh, I'm getting into your mind, your heart. Can I sneak a peek?
Yes,
or am I just like
no.
Okay. Oh, look at that. Did you do this?
I did that. And that's also something else that you can do.
Yeah.
Yeah. Very easy. That involves a handprint, actually.
A handprint?
Yeah.
Oh, I see it.
Do you see it?
I see it. Can you see that? Can you see?
Would you actually like to do it?
It's this one.
Yes.
Right. It's the left hand.
The
Can you
left
see the handprint? Right there.
You can actually see
there the fingers.
The fingers.
Hidden inside of
Hidden
that.
inside of the lines, yeah.
No, I think kids would be into this. I think
and you can
so.
actually take that out and frame it and have them put it on the bedroom wall. Put it in your sitting room. I find that also children appreciate affirmation and affirmation in different ways. One, just engaging them. So being with them as they do the activity. Don't also give them the activity and sort of be like, okay, do you and I'm gone. I'll go and, you know, do my emailing or do my... Engage them. Be part of it. Because that also builds them. That also builds their confidence. That also builds your relationship with them. Right?
And even as you're talking, I'm like, and that really is where parenting begins. That's really in that moment when you're tired and you're like, oh, I could do with like a moment. And we, of course, sometimes you have those moments, take it for yourself, but it's going the extra mile and doing such projects with them.
So being more deliberate.
Exactly. So how do we do this part?
So
how do we do this?
I'd like you to do this.
I love that. I'm here for it. Okay.
Okay. So put your hand on the page and literally use the other one to trace around.
Okay.
It doesn't have to be perfect.
Okay.
This is something that also my children struggle with.
Right.
They...
Like your children or your class
my
children?
Class children.
Okay.
I don't have children of my own yet, but my class children are like my children.
Yeah.
So they are always like, Miss, it's not perfect. I don't like it. It doesn't look so straight. And I'm like, it's fine.
And where does that come from too? I'm probably digging further into this than I should.
Which is fine.
It's interesting. What are we doing that?
This, I think, one, the exposure to all this celebrity and this larger than life personalities, social media. Yes. They want to be perfect. Right. And that perfection gets into their work, gets into their psyche. Yeah. So what happens is they start to think that for me to be good, I have to be perfect.
Right, I have to be the best.
I have to be the best.
Yeah.
Now, being good is not a bad thing. Yeah. However, when it hinders you from learning, because you feel like, I don't want to try it because I know I'm going to be bad at it, so I don't want to do it at all, that is where the danger comes in. So a lot of times, this also brings out some of those social problems. Right,
yeah. And it goes back to, again, affirming, like, wow, this is beautiful.
Like, this is beautiful. Don't worry. Continue.
It's fine.
It's fine. It's okay. Yeah.
Okay, so what do we need to do, actually?
From here, you literally will draw lines. Now, when you get to where you've drawn the hand, you're going to curve the line and then go back straight.
Got it.
That's
so
it.
Let me see. So it's really simple. And
Draw
you
a straight line.
determine the space, huh?
You determine how big or small the space is. And that's part of the design, because by the time you get to the top, then you've created this pattern using straight and curved lines.
Right. Oh gosh. Now my lines are not perfect, but you said
which is
not
fine.
about it being perfect.
It's not.
Yeah. Interesting. So you continue the whole way.
The whole way.
So I'll do it till here.
Yeah,
then we can
that's fine.
See.
This
so this is my little creation right here.
Which is great so far.
Right? No judgment.
No,
here.
none.
This is a safe space.
Okay.
It is. There we go. So next would then be the colors. Is it this? Did you use this or?
Yes, you can use that.
Okay.
Use the markers.
Lovely. This stuff actually really makes me happy. I love stationery and like pretty colors.
And you can get, like, these are double-sided.
Oh.
So you have...
These have changed so much.
So you have
this is so cool.
2 colors in one.
Yeah.
So you have 2 different kinds of greens and purple and all that. And one side is thicker than the other. So that also gives you variety in terms of what you want to create and what you want to do.
Okay, I think I want to start with this pink.
Okay.
And then I guess you just, it's different patterns too. So if I wanted to start this with the dots.
You could do that.
And I keep going. And is it, so one line will continue with the same theme?
It doesn't have to. So you could reach there and decide to do something completely different.
And continue like that. And you said this age group is what again?
This is from literally the age of 8 going up. Even at,
right.
Literally you're doing it.
And I think, like what we even, because we did a show, we recently talked to an artist who helps adults with coloring, and she was telling us about the mandala is a therapeutic activity. So it's
Yeah.
And it's really just focusing on that moment and then going on to the next.
And this could be good, like, if you want to calm down a child.
Yeah.
You know, like if they've been really active or they have been frustrated and you're not really sure what to do with them, just have them really sit down, and you'll be amazed at how focused a child can get when they are into the activity that they're doing. Right. Because that takes them away from whatever stresses that they've been having.
Yeah.
And a stress could be as simple as, Mom, my best friend didn't want to sit with me yesterday.
Oh, yeah. And seeing that and hearing them out and not trying to minimize.
And not trying to minimize what they've been going through.
Right.
And that's part of the beauty of crafting.
Right.
Outside of the crafts, something else that you could do as well is I brought a skipping rope. I don't know how many of us remember skipping.
What? Well, first of all, that even gets your heart rate going. It's
I
a
don't
fun
know
activity.
I don't know how many of us remember skipping.
No, I know. I remember skipping, but I don't know if you guys already seen me skip. That's the truth. I want to tell you that. But I mean, first of all, we even used to do like do kids do that now?
No,
like when
they
you'd
don't.
be on this
when
side,
you're on either side,
and then I think I even remember sort of like
and then you sort of jump in.
Jumping into. Okay, no, I'm not going to do it. Not going to embarrass myself. National TV, but I remember like really getting into it, and you'd have like
and you'd be like two or three of you
too, like reach for the sky. Well, is that the song? Count to 10 and like close your eyes. If you know what I'm talking about, you're probably like, Sharon, let me help you out. Help me out on social media, living with this. Let us know. But there was so much we could do.
And we can bring this back. How many of our children actually know that we used to jump rope or skip rope?
Yeah, and like get really cool with it. Close your eyes, turn around.
You know? Throw a ball into it, because you even used to throw a ball into it, and as the ball is going, you're also jumping.
Yeah, it needs space though,
It
right?
needs space.
Because you also can't be...
Yeah, you can't be closed in.
Yeah.
But also it doesn't need that much space.
Right.
Yeah?
Right.
So these are things that we could do. Buy chalk. A lot of us have, we may not have gardens, but you do have like a small little tarmac space, I am sure.
Yeah.
Get chalk. Chalk is can be easily wiped out or washed off. Have them draw, so like a board game, but now a board game that they can play as them being the board game pieces.
Right. What do you mean?
Like they themselves are the pieces of the board game. So you draw the little boxes, you know, and the beauty is you can create your own games. Yeah.
It's really just, it's all about time and the amount of effort
and really just being more deliberate.
Right.
As guardians, as parents, as teachers, just being more deliberate about what are we engaging our children in.
Yeah.
Yeah. And in this engagement, what are we trying to bring out of our children, you know? Making them more creative, making them be problem solvers, because some of these are solving problems. Yeah. How do I then do something that's going to make me more excited?
Right.
You know?
Right. And encouraging also, I guess, encouraging the idea that it's not really about being perfect. Make mistakes.
Make mistakes. It's part
fine.
of life.
It's the fact that you tried.
Yes, it's the fact that you tried.
So I'm curious to know, how have the kids that you've, spoken to and helped bring this side of them out into the world, how have they responded to it? Are they usually open to like, yeah, sure, we'll do it? Or is there...
Not always.
Yeah.
Not always.
Resistance.
You'll always have some resistance, especially because of, like we said, screen time. So you need to win them out of that.
Yeah.
So I find like there are some of the parents who I've interacted with who've actively said, okay, so every Saturday morning between 9 and 12, no screen time. So no TV, no phones, no laptops, you know. We're going to first wake up, sit as a family, have breakfast, then after that we're going to have an activity, you know. So it needs to be active time that we take out to do some of these things. And it will be met with resistance, because if all they've known is I wake up and the first thing I'm doing is I'm on my phone, or I open my laptop, or I'm on my Kindle, or I'm on my whatever gadget it is, then obviously there's going to be some withdrawal. Think about it like the way you're used to having your morning coffee.
Right.
And suddenly someone comes and says, okay, so no more coffee for you.
Yeah.
Yeah? At first you're going to be cranky. You'll be cranky, you'll be annoyed, you'll be like, it works, so why are we spoiling what works?
Right. Yeah.
But you need to be able to also allow them to understand that this is something that they need. Yeah? Social interaction is something that kids don't have nowadays.
And with time, it'll just... They'll understand.
They'll understand.
They'll
and they'll actually be the ones who later on take it to their peers.
Right.
And be like, you know what? I'm actually not always on TV.
Yeah.
Or I'm not always on my phone, and
book.
it's fine, I read.
Yeah, or draw, or you go
draw.
out and you're like hiking with your parents.
Yes.
You're like, something interesting.
And you can then now bring them into it, and they then create that culture.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Wow, this has been so lovely.
It's
Thank
been
you,
amazing.
Miss.
You're very
I feel like
welcome.
calling you Miss because you're a teacher, and that's how I used to call my teachers. It would be
Yes.
like, Miss. Thanks, Miss. This was lovely. And thank you guys for watching too. I hope that you've learned something about parenting. And I think from what's been so clear across like the conversations I've had with Evelyn and now with you too, is that you just need to make the effort.
Yes.
It's about being active.
It's about being active.
Yeah, like active parenting, like you were saying, and not just sitting and being like, they'll just figure it out.
Yeah.
Just get in there. Thank you.
You're very welcome.
All right. So one of the key things that's come out in this conversation today has been time and saving time, making time for your children. And my Dawa are going to help you do just that, because they take out the time wasted in, commuting from your home to the supermarket, or just being in the supermarket and getting all these things, and they bring convenience right to your fingertips. All you need to do is order online. You can check them out on their website, www.mydawa.com, or just download the app, and there you go. All the things that you need for your house, whether it's diapers, whether it's, beauty products, health products, they'll just deliver it to your doorstep, and then you can be busy focusing on the things that matter, like artwork. Okay, ladies and gentlemen, you're welcome. Thanks, guys, for watching, and thank you to Parkin by Radisson. We'll be back tomorrow, 8 a.m. Bye, everybody.